if you've seen the thumbnail and you've seen the title, you are in the right place for seeing how to hang a Wallism mural wallpaper on a feature wall. Now, before we start, let's get some housekeeping in order. If you are doing any wallpapering, make sure you've turned your heating off. Don't have radiators on that will be drying your wallpaper and wallpaper paste too quickly. So this is the start of the video where I'm saying, please turn your heating off, particularly in the room that you're actually working in, and let the wallpaper just dry out naturally. That's all you need to do. Let it dry out naturally. Have your window open, get some air circulating around, but don't force the drying by turning your radiators on or putting a heater near it, because you will find it will dry too quickly on you, and that's when you get joints that will spring and open up. And I know some people are going to ask, possibly by the end of the video, this is a Wallism wallpaper. You order it online and it comes by a UPS delivery from Sweden. Very quick delivery. I've had these wallpapers come through within 4 to 5 days, so you don't have to wait too long. And yes, they're not cheap. This wall's measured up. I'm going to tell you the exact measurements. I've ordered 3.23 meters by 2.27 meters, and roughly approximately with delivery about 250 pounds. So I will say they're not a cheap paper, but you are having a quality paper. And I've said it before, Wallism wallpapers, they are one of the best I've hung in a long while. They're good on the joints. They're actually really nice to hang. They are PVC free, and being paste the wall, can you go wrong? You could do, but you're going to watch this video and you're going to learn some tips and tricks that I am going to tell you about hanging Wallism feature wallpaper papers. So thanks for listening, and get straight on into this video. Welcome to the channel, everybody. It's Phil Beck with the Professional Painter and Decorator, back with another mural wallpapering video. Now, recently, a few weeks ago, few videos back, you've probably seen me hang the Wallism mural wallpaper, and I'm back with another one. I was so impressed with the quality of the paper. I've gone for another one, and I'm in my son's bedroom. He's picked the wallpaper, so don't blame me for that one. And we're gonna do a quicker video today. We're gonna go through the basics of what you need to know when you're hanging something like this. If you want to have an in-depth video of hanging a Wallism wallpaper mural, and it's very similar for other brands as well, please watch that video there. It's a bit of a long one, but it does talk you through and take you through all the processes of cuts, how to, it's really a proper full in-depth how-to guide of hanging the Wallism paper. But as I say, it also can be for other brands of wallpaper with a similar sort of style as well, i.e. it's a wallpaper mural for a specific sized wall. But today I want to try and do this a little bit quicker, that if you don't want to do a long video, I'm going to give you the tips and tricks of hanging this. I won't show you how to hang it because it is in that video up there. Actually how to hang these murals, but I want to tell you what I'm doing on this one. And probably already you can see some black bands behind me. I have done the black bands to show you what you can do. Whether you need to do it for the style of wallpaper you've got, that will be up to you, but I've done it on this video for this paper so you can get an idea. I didn't do it on the last one, I didn't need to, but this one might be beneficial just to mention it at the time of hanging this one, i.e. it might need black bands on it, and I'll come to that in a moment. Right, let's start off. What's the tools you're going to need? You're going to need a smoother, a plastic smoother. You're probably going to need a hanging brush. You are definitely going to need a sharp snap-off blade. This is an Olfla snap-off blade with a brand new blade in it. You're going to need a pair of shears. Don't use scissors. Hairdressers use scissors. Decorators, tailors, and people who cut things like decorate use shears. So a nice sharp pair of shears. You're going to need a ruler, whether it be a box ruler like this or a tape measure. It's beneficial to have a measuring implement. You are also probably going to need a seam roller. This again is this is a boxwood seam roller. That was a plastic ruler, not a boxwood. They are made of wood, but you can get them in plastic as well. But this is a boxwood seam roller, i.e. hardwood. You are going to more than likely need a pencil. You are definitely going to use a plumb bob, or as I've got, a laser liner, just to get your plumb lines. And let's not forget, you're going to need a straight edge for cutting. Please do not use your plastic smoother for cutting, and I've mentioned this in a number of videos. Look how sharp that is. Can you see how sharp that blade is there for actually cutting straight edges up against your coving like that, compared to a plastic smoother that is a lot, I'm going to say it's a lot chunkier. I'm looking at it. That will give you a bit of an overlap on your top of your skirting boards, or underneath your coving or ceiling edge, or down your corners if you're using something thicker, whereas a sharp straight edge will give you a crisper, sharper line into the corners or bottom of your coving or top of the skirting board. Right, I've gone through all that. Let's just give the basics of preparation. This wall has been prepared properly. I've even lined the wall. Please read instructions on all your wallpapers, whether it says to line or not. If it's advising to line, please line it. This is a non-woven wallpaper lining paper. It's the Ultra 210, which is a really thick wall rock lining paper. I've got a video on hanging that there. I've done it mainly for the purposes of doing a mural over the top. These papers aren't cheap, and I always say it's good to give a good base to your wallpapers if you can line it, and I will say 9 times out of 10 you need to be lining. There's only certain instances that you won't line in, and that is probably because the manufacturer of the paper says not to line. But this has been lined, and as you can clearly see, I've done some black bands. Now, why do you do black bands? Now, if you've got a dark paper, this is a dark paper, but there's a lot of colour in it. Now, I showed you on the last video, which is up in that corner, it didn't need any black bands or any colour behind the paper where the joints will fall. But on this paper, because it's quite dark, I wanted to give the example of why you would put bands, or the situation you would use black banding. The reason being is, if you've got black bands down where your joints will be falling, if there is any chance, and this sometimes will happen, the joint seam just pulls back slightly, and you've got a dark paper, the dark band behind it will disguise that little bit of a pullback. Now, if you've got paper pulling back on a joint and it's a white background and your paper's dark, you're going to see it. So for this video, I've actually done some black bands, and you're going to say to me, Phil, how did you know where to put the black bands? I knew because I'm looking for a tape measure. With me hanging this paper before, I knew the width of this paper is around about this paper comes in at 490 millimeters, 49 centimeters. So because these papers are numbered, i.e. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you've got a number of lengths. You always start on the left-hand side. So actually, I've put a black band where that first length will drop down. Now, let's get to the nitty-gritty of this sorts of paper when you're measuring up, because this is going to be the key. You measure these walls. For purposes of this video, I'm just going to round numbers up. If this wall measures 3 meters across, 3 meters wide, and it measures 2 meters high, do not order your wallpaper 3 meters by 2 meters, because that would be exactly to that wall, and you don't know what's running out. You don't know how that wall will actually be when you get the paper on it. You do not measure exactly. What you need to do is measure the width and add 4 inches, 100 millimeters, 10 centimeters extra. The same top and bottom. If you're measuring up 2 meters, you will be ordering 2.1 meters. If you're ordering the width and it measured up at 3 meters, you're ordering 3.1. So 2.1, 3.1. You're adding 100 to it, i.e. 4 inches. That will give you salvage, overlap, top, bottom of 2 inches, 50 millimeters. So you'd have waist at the top of 50 millimeters, 2 inches, waist at the bottom, 50 millimeters, 2 inches. The same on the width. It gives you that tolerance. If your walls are running out or your ceilings are running out, there is that little bit of leeway you've got. I would always say to you, if in doubt, get a spirit level on your covings, top of your skirtings, because some walls might be running out and you might measure at the wrong place. Now, I would always say to anybody, measure at 3 places. Measure in the middle, measure on the sides, both sides, and see how it is. And take the longest measurement you've got and add the extra, which is 100 millimeters, or if you're working in inches, add 4 inches to it. I've done that. I've measured the width, I've measured the height, and I've added 100 to that measurement, top, bottom, left to right. So I know I've got enough wallpaper there to allow for an overlap on the left-hand side, overlap at the top, and overlap down at the bottom. Is that making sense? Questions if you don't understand me, but what I'm saying to you is, when you measure it, make sure you add enough for salvage cuts at the top and the bottom and the sides. Right, the next thing I'm going to say, when you get these wallpapers, they're all printed onto one roll. So if you've got a number of, like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, say 7 lengths, 6 lengths, they are all on one roll of paper. Now, as you pull it off, your first length will be at the top, and you'll see it numbered, I don't know, you can see it, 1 of 1. When you pull it, draw it down, the next length will be after it, but it'll be reverse hung, i.e., you see the colours that's coming through? You will see your next length will actually be the bottom. I'm coming through it, look, you can see all the colours I've got. It's quite dark. So your next length is there. So you would cut across that middle. That length there is your first one. This length here coming through is your second length. But this part of the paper is actually upside down. So you will pull that off, you will cut it at the next segment and make sure you get it the right way up. Now, a big mistake that people do, and I'm going to show you. Big mistake people do, they think that cut line there goes underneath your ceiling or your coving edge. That is not the edge to place underneath your coving or ceiling. This is where I've said you've allowed 2 inches at the top and the bottom as waste. So when you hang this first length, 2 inches of that, 50 millimeters, will be overlapped onto your coving or onto your ceiling to give you tolerance to do your cut. You will use your squeegee, push it into the ceiling, bottom of the coving, overlap it round, get your straight edge and cut off the waste. When you're at the bottom, you've got exactly the same. You've got some waste you'll cut off. Now, look at your paper on your first length, position it how you want it, because you might say, well, actually, I know I've got enough salvage and waste. I don't want to waste 2 inches. I could go to 1 inch or 1.5 inches. That will all depend on how much your ceilings or floors run out. Always be mindful, hence why I say if you've got a spirit level, just to see if your floors or ceilings are running out on a taper. This, my room, isn't too bad, so I will give it roughly about 1.5 inches at the top, and what will be at the bottom should be roughly about 2.5 inches waste. But I will look at the paper when I get the first length on and balance it to make sure I'm not missing a critical part of the pattern or something that I want to keep in the actual paper as the feature of the mural. My next thing I'm going to mention is, because of that width, that 490, that 49 centimetre width of paper, my first black band that I've put on, because I know that each one of those is at the correct distance of where the paper falls, you get me? The first one, because I've got salvage of 2 inches, I've actually brought in that black band towards the wall. So it's not exactly, can you see where the edge of the paper is? It's not exactly there. I've actually allowed that 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inches on that side of the wall there to be waste and salvage overlap, meaning the joint seam will drop down in between that band. Do you get me? brilliant. I knew where to put all the, put that down. I knew where to do all the bands because I got a laser. You can see that's the 360 laser, and I lined it up where the, if we can get it straight, I lined it up where, can you see that? Where the joint would be falling on each one, and then got a mini roller with some dark coloured paint, which is the paint of the walls, and just rolled a mini roller top to bottom, keeping away from the bottom edge of the skirting because the skirting is a different colour. I kept a fraction away from that. So that's where we are now. I'm going to get the first length on. I'm going to, let's tighten that. I'm going to get the first length on. I'll use the laser liner, or if you've got a spirit level, to get the first mark on there for where I want it positioned. Using the pencil, I will just do a little line at the top or the middle, at the bottom, line it all up, and that is the line that I will hang the wallpaper to, going into that corner. Once that's on and it's plumb, it's plain sailing for the rest of it. And I don't want to show you how to hang the paper because we have covered that in that other video. This video is to cover this sort of situation with dark bands, how to actually address measuring, how to actually hang your paper, and don't be frightened of it. Okie dokie, before you actually start getting any paste on the wall, because this is a paste the wall product, I would always advise get a little bit of used sandpaper, give your wall surface just a light rub down, just in case you have any spots of paint from when you've painted your ceiling, when you've painted your coving, that might be on that surface that you've accidentally sprinted and splattered. Just nib them off, because with these papers, if you've got little marks on the surface and there's a little bit of paint, it could show through your finish. Now, if you know you've got a smooth surface to hang your wallpaper on, you can do no more than that. And that wall has been sanded down because I went over with a Gold Flex 150 just to finally denib anything that could be on that lining paper surface. And there were a few little spots of paint from me using a roller on the ceiling. Right, paste, you're going to ask me, I'm using tub paste. This is Albany yellow top tub paste. This is a general purpose paste the wall suitable paste. It's pre-mixed. It is actually, back in the day, these are the paste that you'd use if you were using a vinyl wallpaper. They are low water content. They're not going to over soak your paper. As this is actually a non-woven, you put enough on to get the paper on, but don't put too much on that you are actually obliterating that wall with too much paste, because it will soak into that paper and probably take a lot longer to dry. So put enough on to get it on. It's a bit of an oxymoron that. Put enough on that you actually get the paper sticking well, but don't put too much on that you're actually over applying paste. Just get a nice even coverage. And what you do is you cut in at the top with a brush, cut in at the bottom with a brush, and then a medium pile. I've got a medium pile woven roller. It's not too long, it's been worn, and that will apply the paste evenly and consistently from top to bottom. And if you feel so inclined, you might be able to do two bands, two widths, two lengths of paper in one go with your paste, and then come to hang them consecutively from your first one to the second one. But if you've got a lot of cuts to do, I would probably say hang one length at a time. Now, for the first length that I'm doing, because I've got a corner cut to do up there, I've got the side waist to cut off and across the bottom, I will paste one length, then I will do the next one, and then we will finish. So let me get the first one on. I'll get that on. We'll talk about how it went, and then I will get it all on, and we'll have a conclusion at the end. Right, what I've just done, I've just got the laser to line up a line, done a pencil mark where I need to hang the first length. Now, from the corner to really the center of where that black band is, I've come out 46 centimeters of that 49 centimeters of the actual width of the paper. That will give me 60 to 90, what's that? 30 millimeters waste. I'll cut off that side. Now, I've put a pencil mark down so I know where to actually hang it, and it's just there because the laser liner was on the floor and it lined me up nicely. Now I did actually measure from that corner out 460, so top, middle and bottom. And do you know what? That corner does run out slightly. So I've gone from the 460 that was at the middle, laser lined it, or if you've got a plumb bob, I'll just show you. If you've got a plumb bob, hanging from that middle mark there, I know that that is 460, and whatever the line is at the top and the bottom, you could probably not see it, that is where I need to do the plumb line to hang the actual paper to. The other thing I'm just going to mention to you, now you're ready to hang, make sure you've got a bucket of warm water with you and a clean sponge, because if you do get any paste, on the coving, you can just nicely wipe it off. Likewise, if you do get a little bit of paste on the paper, don't be frightened just to gently wipe the paste off the surface, because you don't want paste to dry and then start flaking, and it might even eat into the actual paper surface. So let's get this on and we'll see what it looks like. Now I'm hoping you can see this all right. That's the first length gone on. Now, first length's going to be always a little bit tricky because you're making sure that you're getting that plumb line there. Don't be worrying if you're taking a little bit longer than you think you should be. That'd probably take me, I don't know, 10 minutes to faff about making sure that the joint there is on the plumb. Obviously go back and check it each time with your laser level or your plumb line. If you've got a spirit level, I'd say try and get yourself a plumb line. You've got a longer drop with a plumb line, so you can see what it's like at the top and at the bottom. If you're using a spirit level, you might be on shorter spirit level lengths and it won't give you a very good accurate line, but everybody to their own. Now, making sure that you're cutting in the corner neat. You probably can't see it because we're on a dark paper, and I've gone all the way down. I've cut the top and the bottom, and I'm going to show you what my waist is. Now the top, that's what I've cut off, the top. That is as good as 2 inches. Let's just get a tape measure on that. That is about 2 inches that I've pulled off that. We all know what 2 inches are like. Can you, let's get that there. We are about 2.5 inches that I've cut off that. Likewise, the bottom, can you see what I've cut off the bottom? If we can focus that, we're just under 2 inches. So whatever you cut off the top will counterbalance whatever is at the bottom. Now the sides, I took it in slightly. Did I say about 30? That's what I've cut off, top to bottom. There's the bottom. Well, let's do it this way around. And there's the top. This allows that wall angle to run out. And if you can see that, that is slightly wider, only a fraction, than the bottom. And to prove that, let me just measure that up there. The bottom, I was looking at just over 25 millimeters. Right, what's it like at the top? So at the top, we should be a bit wider. Right, we're just about 35 millimeters on that there. Oh, you can see it very well. 36 millimeters. So it is running out, and that's why you've allowed that couple of inches either side, i.e. 2 inches there, 2 inches that side, to allow for any tolerance of anything running out. Now I'm quite happy with that. It's on nicely. I've just wiped around the top, down the angle carefully with a damp sponge, and across the bottom skirting edge there, so we haven't got any paste on any of the corresponding walls or skirting or coving. And I think now you can understand why I've done the dark bands which fall where the joint stroke seam is. If there is any pullback on this non-woven, and quite often you do get a little bit of movement, only a fraction with non-woven paste the wall wallpapers, if it does open out slightly, it will be showing a darker line instead of white, and particularly with these sorts of colours, I'd rather have darker showing than white. So I'm going to get finished and crack on, and we'll have a little bit of a sum up at the end. This as I say, isn't a wallpapering video, how to do the wallpapering from start to finish, but this is a video to explain if you are doing this sort of wallpaper, this sort of mural, these are the things you've got to consider and take into account to get the best results, like I'm clearly going to get. All right, now I'm going to get on with the second length, and as I said, true to form, the second length on that roll, we're still working off the roll, is now upside down. So when you draw that one off, and I mean pull it off like that, go all the way through it till you get to the next segment and trim it through that middle like that. Back roll it if you want so it's not curling up on you, and then you can work off that roll on your next drop there, which will fall in between those black bands. There we have it, we're finished. It's probably took me about an hour and a half to do this all the way across. Main thing is getting your joints right. Make sure you've got your seam roller. If there's any movement, just push them together and actually seam roller them down and make sure your squeegee's there. Again, just wipe over any joints with a sponge. Also, just wring your sponge out, clean water, just wipe over the face. Don't rub it, just wipe it gently, just in case there's any paste that's gone onto the surface that might have just been caught and travelled about by your squeegee. Now, the other thing I'm going to mention is this paper is brilliant on joints. If you do have an issue with some papers, doesn't necessarily mean this Wallism paper, but any papers, if you've got issues with joints, you can always get some pastels. These are pastel crayons, they're water soluble. You can just touch in any joints for patterns and just blend it and fake it. Bit of saliva on your finger, you can just blend any of these pastels. You can get them in different colours, and they're a decorator stroke paper hangers lifesaver, because some papers do need a little bit of faking with some pastel crayons like these. And as I say, these are water soluble. Now, thank you very much for listening to me. I'd like you to watch the videos at the end or videos on the channel. That helps. If you've liked this video, please give us a thumbs up, press that like button below, and the people that are supporting me with super thanks and buy me a coffee, thank you very much. It's much appreciated. See you on the next one.